basically coming up with a solution to end the deadlock. They're now saying that they need another month to deliberate and decide what they're going to do. The African Union is simply divided about what to do. Some African nations believe that what the Constitutional Court said, which is that Gbagbo won, is what should stand. And some say, well, what the Electoral Commission said, which was that Ouattara won, should stand. But one thing is for sure, I think Ivorians are really going to sort this problem out themselves. There's unlikely to be any kind of intervention of the sort that was talked about late last year.
Now, Malaysian opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim is testifying for the first time in his second sodomy trial. Anwar is seeking to throw out DNA evidence produced by the prosecution earlier this week. He says it was obtained without his consent while he was being detained. Anwar faces 20 years in prison if convicted of having sex with a male former aide. The last spacewalk has been made from the US space shuttle Discovery. NASA's oldest shuttle is on its 39th and final mission before being retired. Astronauts Alvin Drew and Stephen Bowen carried out a 6-hour spacewalk to prepare the International Space Station for life after the shuttle program ends. And don't forget, you can always keep up to date with all the news on our website, aljazeera.net/English. Do stay with us for more news in just a moment. This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines. Muammar Gaddafi and his supporters in Libya are being warned they're now war crimes suspects. The International Criminal Court has announced a full investigation into alleged human rights violations in Libya. Speaking at The Hague in the Netherlands, prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo says Gaddafi's supporters have already been identified.
We identify some individuals with de facto or formal authority who have authority on the security forces who allegedly committed the crimes. They are Muammar al-Gaddafi, his inner circle, including some of his sons, who had de facto authority. But also, there are people with some formal authority that should pay attention to the crimes committed by their people.
In Libya, there's been another air raid on the oil port of Brega, but rebels say that they're pushing Gaddafi forces back. The United Nations says refugee camps on Libya's border crossings are at what they call crisis point. Tens of thousands of foreign nationals are still trying to flee the country. Government officials are trying to win the release of 3 Dutch Marines in Libya. They were captured on Sunday by forces loyal to Muammar Gaddafi after they landed in the coastal city of Sirte. They were trying to rescue 2 Europeans who've since been handed over to the Dutch embassy in Tripoli. There's more political upheaval in Egypt. The Prime Minister, General Ahmed Shafiq, has resigned. His replacement is Essam Sharaf, who previously won accolades for trying to kickstart a new nationwide transport initiative. Well, a mass protest plan for Friday against Shafiq's rule is still set to go ahead. Shireen Tadros has the latest from Cairo.
The whole aim of this Friday protest was to put pressure on the military rulers of this country to make Ahmed Shafiq step down. Now that that aim has been achieved, they want to keep up the pressure in terms of their other demands, like the release of political prisoners, the lifting of emergency law. But they're saying very clearly that they're not going to be calling for a sit-in.
And those are the headlines. The news continues here on Al Jazeera after Riz Khan. And don't forget, you can always keep up to date with our website, aljazeera.net/English. Bye for now.
Hello and welcome. Why is rape still being used as a weapon of war in the Democratic Republic of Congo in spite of peace deals between the government and militia groups? Africa's deadliest conflict has cost an estimated 5 million lives, and violent abuse continues to be used as a weapon to intimidate, punish and control. The DRC's military court found a commanding officer and 8 of his men guilty of committing numerous rapes in a town earlier this year, a decision marking the first time any high-ranking commander has been held accountable for such crimes. And while many in the international community praise the ruling as a milestone, it has done little to comfort the large number of women dealing with the trauma of sexual violence. Today we ask what can be done to provide real protection against rape crimes in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. Send an SMS or an email to the show. Well, I'm joined by two guests who are very familiar with the horrors of war in the DRC. Joining me from Paris is Eve Ensler, world-renowned feminist and activist. Her organization has recently co-developed City of Joy, a shelter for sexually battered women in the DRC. And from Oslo, Norway, we have Marcus Bleasdale, an award-winning photojournalist who has spent over 8 years covering the DRC conflict. It's a pleasure to have you both on the show. And Eve, I have to start with you. It's great to get you back on the show. And it's sad, though, that, you know, a couple of years on, we're still talking about this subject. We talked before when you were launching your campaign, Stop Raping Our Greatest Resource, Power to Women in the DRC. And it seems things certainly haven't improved since then. They're worse, if anything. Why?
Well, I think the basic fundamentals haven't changed very much. We still have many outside militias, whether they're from Burundi or Rwanda or Uganda, waging war, fighting a war inside the Congo on the bodies of the Congolese, particularly the bodies of the women of Congo. And I think that basic problem, that basic structure, that basic exploitation of minerals that continues, and where militias are used to control the mines and exploit the minerals, that hasn't changed. But I'm a little more optimistic than I was before, and maybe that's because I just came from the opening of City of Joy, which is an extraordinary place, opened by V-Day with the Pansy Foundation and support from UNICEF in Bukavu. And the opening was a very, very exhilarating and positive moment after many years of horror and atrocities. And I have great faith in the women of Congo. I have great faith in the women. And I am seeing, after years now of working and struggling in movements inside the Congo and outside the Congo, women in the diaspora and women inside the Congo, women activist leaders, have really been building a movement that is really taking shape and taking form. And I think women are finally coming into their power and voice.
But Eve, let me ask you what you make of that recent conviction of that high-ranking commander and 8 of his men for crimes of rape. And I wonder what real impact you think it might have there.
Well, I think the fact that anyone's been arrested and anyone's held accountable is a good thing. Seeing how many people have been raped, what we're up to, an estimated 500,000 women have been raped in the Congo. So of course it's good. The question is, what will happen to this person? Will he be kept in prison, which is a huge question, because we don't see people often staying in prison. And if he is kept in prison, what will the consequences be? And how will that be exposed? And how will that affect other people? I mean, I think those are all huge questions. But I think anybody being arrested at this point, or an end to any minutia of impunity, is an excellent thing.
Right. Marcus Bleasdale, you've won numerous awards for your work around the world, and I know you spent about 8 years working in the DRC and have seen up front the horrors taking place there. What do you think is different about the way this particular conflict is being conducted?
Well, I think there are several reasons why this particular conflict is enduring in the way that it has. Is that most of the conflict is happening in regions that are inaccessible.